There are crimes so brutal, so meticulously planned, that the very question of who is responsible fractures the mind. One killer, or many, a twisted puzzle with pieces that don't quite fit, until the chilling truth breaks through the darkness and shatters everything you thought you knew. Today's story is not your typical serial killer saga. It's a tangled web of deceit, darkness, and deception. A single mind capable of horrors that rival the worst nightmares. But here's the catch. What investigators uncovered was so sinister, so grotesquely calculated, it forced everyone to reconsider the meaning of evil itself. Before we dive in, if you're into mysteries that will keep your brain guessing and your heart racing, hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Trust me, you'll want to be here when part 2 drops. Our story begins in a sleepy suburb just outside Detroit, Michigan. A city that had seen better days, but where life still had a rhythm. Streets lined with old maple trees, kids riding bikes, neighbors chatting over fences. Meet Rachel, a 28-year-old librarian who lived alone in a modest apartment near the old industrial park. On the surface, Rachel's days were routine. Coffee at dawn, bookshelves straightened by midday, and quiet evenings watching true crime documentaries. Ironically, one of her favorite pastimes. But beneath this calm, Rachel had secrets. Small, odd habits, a collection of encrypted hard drives, burner phones she never let out of sight, late-night online chats she deleted every morning. Nothing overtly suspicious, but enough for a curious mind to wonder. Across town, there was David, a young mechanic with a reputation for kindness and a smile that warmed the coldest days. His life was simple: work, family dinners, Sunday church. Yet, recently, friends noticed he'd been distant, often disappearing for hours without explanation. Odd texts on his phone, deleted calls, whispered phone conversations. Then there was Emily, a college student who often volunteered at the local shelter, a beacon of hope to those around her. But some nights she'd come home with scratches on her arms, trembling, and refusing to talk about what happened. These seemingly disconnected lives were threads in a dark tapestry soon to unravel. It started with the discovery of a body in the abandoned factory district. A woman found brutally strangled, her body arranged with grotesque precision. No signs of robbery or sexual assault. No fingerprints beyond the victim's own. Police were baffled. The scene felt staged, almost ritualistic, with symbols scrawled nearby. Symbols no one recognized. Then, within weeks, 2 more bodies surfaced, each more horrifying than the last. A man with deep lacerations across his torso, his eyes wide open as if frozen in terror. A young woman, her limbs bound and marred with peculiar burn marks. News spread fast. The city was gripped by fear. Was this the work of a serial killer? The pattern seemed to suggest so, but something about the crime scenes didn't fit the usual profile. Detective Marcus Lane was assigned to the case. A veteran with a knack for reading people, Marcus sensed this was more than a string of random murders. There was a calculated mind behind this. Someone who craved control, spectacle, and something far darker. As Marcus and his team dug deeper, they uncovered chilling evidence. Encrypted files on one victim's laptop, pointing to a hidden online network. A dark web forum where users shared stories, tips, and disturbing images related to real-world crimes. The forum was called The Thread. Only accessible through layers of VPNs and cryptocurrency gateways, it was a digital underground for the disturbed and the dangerous. Several usernames matched locations near Detroit. Could the killer be lurking there, watching the police probe from behind a screen? But the strangest clue came from forensic analysis. DNA traces at all crime scenes matched a single individual. A man with no prior record, no known motive. Further, the killings were not random. They targeted people connected through the same obscure social media group centered on escape rooms. But these weren't ordinary puzzles. They were real-life, deadly games engineered by the killer. Now, what do you think? Is this a spree of random victims, or something far more sinister? Drop your theories in the comments below. And if you want the full deep dive into the twisted psychology of this case, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. You don't want to miss the jaw-dropping developments coming next. After weeks of surveillance, Marcus's team traced a peculiar online signature. A user named Raven, who always posted cryptic hints just before each murder. But when they finally tracked Raven down, the face that stared back was not a monster of flesh and bone as imagined. It was a quiet, unassuming man named Michael Turner, a cybersecurity analyst by day. Michael's home was a labyrinth of technology and twisted memorabilia. Walls lined with photos of the victims, meticulous notes linking them in a deadly game only he knew the rules to. His confession was chilling. Each murder was a level in his personal game, a perverse challenge to outwit law enforcement and prove his intellectual superiority. The grotesque injuries were methodical, a symbolic punishment for each victim's perceived betrayal of the social contracts he obsessed over online. But here's the kicker. Michael had been living a double life, manipulating online forums, feeding false leads to detectives, and controlling narratives like a puppeteer. No accomplices, no copycats. Just a single man orchestrating chaos through screens and shadows. The autopsy reports revealed horrors that sent shivers through the investigation team. Victims weren't just killed, they were carefully mutilated. One had precise surgical cuts, almost like a butcher dissecting a carcass, each wound deliberately placed to send a message, a signature. Another showed signs of chemical burns on the skin, the product of slow, excruciating torture. Each scene was a grotesque tableau, blending artistry with horror, as if Michael wanted the world to see his craft. A macabre exhibit of death. The city breathed a collective sigh of relief when Michael was arrested. But for Detective Marcus, the case left a haunting echo. How could one man harbor such darkness behind an ordinary facade? And what of the thread? The dark web network still pulsing with sinister conversations and lurkers. There are whispers that Michael's online empire wasn't just for murder, but something even darker. Plans yet uncovered, a network ready to rise again. What lies beneath the surface of the digital shadows? How deep does this web go? That, dear viewer, is where our story takes its next terrifying turn. If you want to stay ahead of the shadows, keep watching. Part 2 will reveal the deeper conspiracies, the secrets Michael tried to bury, and why this case is far from over. Until then, stay curious, stay cautious, and remember, sometimes the darkest monsters don't wear masks. They hide behind the screens you scroll every day. If this story sent chills down your spine, hit that like button and share it with friends who love a good mystery. Subscribe now, you'll want to be the first to know what happens when the digital nightmare wakes. When the man behind the mask was finally unmasked, most breathed a sigh of relief. But the deeper you dig into the digital underworld, the more you realize catching Michael Turner was just the beginning. The true horror was only just surfacing. Behind every twisted game he played, every cryptic message he sent, lay a shadowy network more dangerous than anyone imagined. A dark web forum that didn't just whisper, but roared with secrets and killers lurking in plain sight. Today, we dive into the thread, the hidden internet alley where Michael built his empire, recruited his twisted disciples, and wove a web of terror that refuses to unravel. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button. This journey into the darkest corners of the web will blow your mind. Ready? Let's go. After Michael's arrest, investigators seized dozens of devices from his apartment. Their screens revealed a maze of encrypted chats, virtual meeting rooms, and digital trophies, snapshots, videos, and chat logs dripping with depravity. The thread was not just a forum, it was a cult. Members communicated using code words, sharing challenges that blurred the lines between fantasy and reality. The forum's moderators curated content designed to escalate violence, each level pushing participants deeper into depravity. Even more disturbing, Michael wasn't just a participant. He was the architect, the puppet master pulling strings to control who lived, who died, and who was next. The police cyber unit worked tirelessly, using advanced digital forensics and behavioral profiling. They mapped the thread's sprawling network, dozens of users worldwide, many posting under layers of anonymity. What shocked them was the mix of profiles, from disgruntled teenagers seeking notoriety to middle-aged professionals hiding behind respectable lives. Even more chilling were the recruitment messages, private invites sent to potential victims, disguised as games, social experiments, or even job offers. Rachel, David, Emily, all had crossed paths on this dark network. Michael's manipulation went beyond murder. He wielded psychological control with surgical precision, grooming victims through online interactions, then turning them into pawns in his deadly game. He studied them, learning their fears, weaknesses, and secrets. With each interaction, he eroded their defenses, isolating them from friends and family until they were vulnerable and alone. His virtual persona, Raven, was charismatic and omnipresent, a digital deity demanding obedience. One chilling transcript revealed Emily begging Raven for mercy after a challenge went horribly wrong, a clue to the scratches and terror she'd carry for weeks. Another victim, David, was sent a seemingly harmless riddle that led him to a meeting where Michael struck, leaving scars deeper than the physical wounds. Rachel's encrypted diaries, uncovered by the FBI, spoke of paranoia, sleepless nights, and a haunting voice in her mind, Raven's voice, always watching, always controlling. At this point, what do you think the thread really is? A killer's playground? A recruiting ground? Or something even darker, a new kind of organized crime? Comment your thoughts below. And if you're fascinated by the psychology of cyber predators and the underbelly of the internet, don't forget to subscribe. We've barely scratched the surface. As the investigation deepened, detectives uncovered evidence of a hidden inner circle within the thread, elite users who orchestrated operations beyond murder. Michael's arrest had shaken this circle, but did not dismantle it. Files on Michael's devices hinted at financial transactions, cryptocurrency flowing to untraceable accounts, funding further operations. More disturbingly, investigators found blueprints for initiations, brutal rituals designed to bind members through shared violence and secrecy. Authorities faced an impossible challenge: how to police an invisible, encrypted web that spanned continents and hid behind layers of code. Every attempt to infiltrate was met with swift countermeasures: users disappearing, forums shutting down, data wiped clean. Michael had been caught, but the network lived on, morphing, adapting, growing. Behind every line of code, every pixel lay broken lives, families shattered, friends haunted by unanswered questions. Rachel's mother spoke at a vigil, her voice cracking. She wasn't just a victim, she was a prisoner of a nightmare we couldn't see. David's brother swore to find justice, but even he doubted if justice could ever reach beyond the screen. Then, in a late-night breakthrough, cybercrime analysts discovered something no one expected: a hidden message embedded deep within Michael's encrypted files. A warning. Not for police, not for victims, for someone or something still out there watching, waiting. A new player, and this message hinted at a much larger game. One that could engulf the entire city? Or worse, what could this warning mean? Is Michael just a pawn in a bigger conspiracy? And who is the new player ready to step into the shadows? Stay with us, where the web's darkest secrets unravel, and the stakes get higher than ever. Like this video if you're ready to uncover the truth. Share it with friends who love a chilling, cerebral mystery. Subscribe now because the nightmare is far from over. When the warning surfaced, the entire investigation shifted into overdrive. What had started as a chilling hunt for a single twisted mind now exploded into a race against time, to stop a shadow lurking deeper than anyone imagined. But here's the cruel truth. Sometimes, the darkest monsters don't just hide behind screens. They blend perfectly into the daylight, wearing faces you'd never suspect. Today, we end this haunting journey. The web tightens, the mask falls, and justice finally comes. The message in Michael's files wasn't just a threat, it was a taunt. The game has only begun. Watch closely. The next move is mine. For Detective Marcus Lane and his cybercrime unit, this was a call to arms. Weeks of digital surveillance, undercover infiltration, and relentless data decryption followed. They tracked activity spikes on the thread, monitored cryptocurrency flows, and scanned for new recruits. All signs pointed to one chilling reality. The killer had a successor, someone who knew Michael inside out. Marcus's team zeroed in on a user named Ghost Echo, a shadow lurking silently in the forum's deepest layers. Unlike Michael's brash provocations as Raven, Ghost Echo was patient, cryptic, almost surgical. Using advanced AI-driven analytics and human intuition, the team mapped a digital fingerprint to a young woman, Anna Morales, a cybersecurity prodigy with a seemingly perfect life. Friends described Anna as brilliant but distant. Colleagues praised her professionalism but never suspected the darkness behind her calm exterior. Anna wasn't just a follower. She was Michael's apprentice, mentored through years of encrypted contact. She inherited his twisted games, evolving them with cruel new layers. The new victims bore marks eerily similar to Michael's. The precise cuts, the symbolic burn patterns, but with added savagery. Anna's signature was subtle. She used technology to torment victims remotely, manipulating smart devices, cutting off help, and controlling environments to amplify fear. After days of close surveillance, the police moved in. Anna was caught in her apartment, surrounded by screens displaying live feeds of potential targets. A digital puppeteer orchestrating terror from her living room. Inside, officers found detailed logs linking her to several murders, plans for more, and chilling manifestos explaining her mission to cleanse what she called society's rot. She never resisted. Instead, her icy gaze suggested a mind unbroken, a soul committed to darkness. The city finally exhaled. Rachel, David, Emily, victims of two killers but united by a nightmare spanning years. Families found a fragile peace, knowing justice was served. Detective Marcus spoke quietly at a press conference. Evil wears many faces. Sometimes it hides behind genius, behind normalcy, but it cannot hide forever. This case reminds us to look closer, listen harder, and never dismiss the quiet shadows. The dark web remains a double-edged sword, a place of innovation and connection, but also a breeding ground for the depraved. Michael and Anna's story is a grim reminder of the dangers lurking beneath the surface of our digital lives. But it also sparks hope that relentless pursuit, human resolve, and technology can prevail against even the darkest evil. Thank you for joining this harrowing journey into the darkest corners of true crime. If you found this story compelling, hit like, share it with fellow mystery lovers, and subscribe for more deep dives into the shadows where few dare to tread. Remember, the line between good and evil can be as thin as a screen, but awareness is our strongest weapon. Stay safe, stay vigilant, and as always, stay curious.